Okay, so I want to show you how to use a Docker container. Um, the book actually uses a lot of different libraries, and you can install those one by one in your machine. You can go through a crazy thing and do it with Google Colab and install like a lot of them. I'm not sure how well they would work in Google Colab, um, but you could try, and they might work fine. I don't really have a script for doing that. So I found that the easiest way to get all of the libraries installed and working together is to use a Docker container. Now, a Docker container is kind of like a virtual machine. It's like an environment that's in some ways isolated from your machine, that has where you can specify all the packages you need. Um, it is true that Conda has Conda environments, and they kind of do similar things. But I think that um, there are some issues with Windows or Mac, and using a container which is based on Ubuntu kind of standardizes a little bit more, and you're likely to get the same results everywhere. So the first thing we need to do in this setup is that we're going to need to have files on our desktop, or not on our desktop, but somewhere in our drive, that we want to be able to see inside of this virtual environment, inside of the container. And then that way we can edit them and do things with them and download some data, and then we have them on our machine, and then we can upload them. So if we're working on a homework problem or a project, um, you know we have access to that, not just from inside of the virtual the container, but from our machine. And one nice thing about containers is you can move them between machines. This directory, you'd have to move manually, but it's kind of like there's the directory where it has the files that you want to work on, and then you have the container which can see those files. So the first thing I want to do is create this directory where I'm going to have some files. So I'm doing this on Windows, but doing it in Mac is not that different. So you have some way to get to your files, and I'm going to assume that you have a home directory like this, and then we can create a new folder in here. So one way is we could just create a new folder, and we can call it mkdir4T, machine learning for trading files, and that's fine. Or I'm going to just do it another way, which is, suppose I have a shell open, a terminal open. So this is Windows PowerShell, but Macintosh would have terminal, and then I can do mk, and I'm in the C drive, whatever my home directory is. I can do mkdir, and then ml4t files, and that you can see this down here. It made the directory as well. So either way would work. And then just thinking ahead, I'm going to want to have the repository from the book. So if you go to the book, or you just Google Stefan Jansen machine learning for trading, you get to this repo here, and each one of these directories, I clicked on the first one, which is the worst one to click on, but let's say the second one, has a bunch of different folders in it for running examples in the book. And so using these notebooks, you can get the data that some of the data that you might want to use, at least the data for the examples in the book. So in order to get that, let's go back here. This is the link that I'm going to want to use. So from inside this directory, I'm going to say git clone, and that will bring down all of those files that are in the repo with all the notebooks and everything. So, and then I will create, I've created a container, so I'm going to create the container, and I'll have the container able to see that. But while that's downloading, I am going to need to install, so if we go to Docker Desktop, I would install the Windows version, and if we go to there's download and install. So here's the instructions for Windows, and there's two different backends. I like the WSL2 backend, so there's some instructions on installing that, and you may have to install WSL2. And to do that, you would just you can Google Windows Subsystem Linux to install, and there's a bunch of instructions on how to do that. So I'm not going to go through all of those steps. If you can go through those steps, or you can use the other method. It has two different methods for installation. I've got this installed already, so once it's installed, you'll be able to take Docker Desktop on your Windows machine, or if it's a Macintosh, you will have that app, and you click on it, and this is what the desktop app looks like. So you might not have all these other, you might just be empty here. This is the image thing. There's no containers running at the moment. There's no volumes. So, and I don't use the dev environment, so. But this is what this looks like, and because it's installed, if I type docker.exe, in this case, help, you'll see that you get something, right? There is some Docker thing, and it has a help folder. So once I've got that, I'm going to just get out briefly from this directory that I'm in, and I am going to so the Docker images, there's all kinds of different Docker images that exist. This is called Docker Hub, and there's all kinds of. I have an account. You don't have to make an account to do what I'm doing now, I don't think, but it has different repository, so you could set up different environments if you want to, and different and store them. Or there's a ton of public repositories that you can get access to that have different software already pre-installed. But this is the one that we're going to be working with. This is the one I've set up that has that I've debugged about half the notebooks from the book, and installed, I think, all of the libraries needed. Oops. What do I want to do? Okay, so in order to do this, see this Docker push? I don't want to push. I want to pull. So this would be, push would be if I wanted to create a new one in my repository, and I don't. But what I can do is, this should be default. And this should be pull. And what this will do is go get this image. So it gets the image, and then it may take a little longer than it just did for me, but you'll get the image. And then once you have the image, you can see it in the Docker desktop program. So opening the program, and you'll see under images, you'll see this this line here. So I want to run this thing, and you see there's a run button. I could use that, or I could do it from the command line. So I'm going to do it from the command line, and then I'll do it from the other one. So there's a little bit of it's kind of a little bit more complicated from the command line. What I have to run, docker exe. Sorry. And then run is the command, and then -it to keep it running, and then rm because I don't need the container afterwards, and then -v because I want it to show, I want to be able to see that directory I created. So users Michael ml4t files home Joe. So I took this container and I modified a container that came from the Jupyter project. So they have this virtual user called Jovian. Okay, so this will set it up so that's the directory that I will see it in, and I also want to be able to see it from my browser on my laptop, or not my laptop, on my machine here. So I need to expose the port, and then finally I need to get that name of that container. So is this one here, and with a default tag. So I could copy that, I guess. No, I can't. Okay, so it's okay. I'll just type it. Make sure that you use colons, a colon there, not a semicolon. And then if I hit return here, you will see that I get this link here. And if I do control click, it will actually bring up my browser. And oops. What you should see here is that it's got those files, and if I click into that directory that I got from online, you can see that this is some of the, notebooks that are up there, and that you can download some of the information, download some of the data, which then you can use. So that's and go through those to understand how the book does things. And if we want to create our own stuff, that we'll be able to get access to, we want to do it in this ML, so we can create our own directory here. And then I can create a notebook. Let's see. Right click. You don't have to do this. I'm just this is my little demo for a random walk. Just want to show you that you basically have a Jupyter Notebook, and you can access it and then create a Jupyter Notebook that you can get on your directory, but it has all the libraries. So, for example, let's see, x equals np.random 1,000 elements. Minus 0. That's because these numbers are from 0 to 1, and then cum sum to make it a random walk. And then I can do a plt plot. np arrange len x, comma x. Does that do it? Yeah, that gives me a random walk. Okay. And then if we go to the File Explorer, and we go to see users, we go there, my files, and there's that random walk file. So we can work in here. It'll have all the libraries necessary, and then we still have access to the files just from our desktop, from our file handler, and then we can upload them or whatever, do it wherever we want with them. And then we can shut it down. Control C. Now there's another way to do this, so I'll just show you the other way to run it once you've got it. So if I go to the Docker desktop, so I could do run and then do these optional settings and say, well, you know, I want this container, I don't know, I'll call it ML4T notebook container, whatever. This is not important. This should be 8888. This should be, you click here and then we can go look for the directory that we want, which is C colon users select folder. So that's there. And then inside the container, it'll just be called this part. Well, actually, I have to type that. I think I have to do the whole thing. So let me do that. So it's that whole home Joven blah blah blah. And then that's probably it. And I just run it, and it's running. And then there's open in browser. Now this almost would work. If I click here, you see it has this whole thing about token authentication and like, oh no, how come I can't get to it? And I don't know what the password is, so that's confusing. But instead, what I can do is click on it, and you see it says it has this whole thing, and then here it has the same thing I saw in the terminal. So if I highlight that and I do, I think control click again, or actually just copy this into the browser. So it's that long number at the end where it says token. That's the token that it needs. So copy, and now I'm going to open the browser. Just make sure it's big enough, yeah. And then put this in here, and then you'll see the Jupyter Lab come up. Okay, so now we can actually get working with this. So I think this video